Okay, welcome back to the Caribou Media Outdoors podcast. With me today is Nick Fisher from AAE, which is Arizona Archery Enterprises. Welcome.
Hey, Josh. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Yeah, so can you just give everybody a little bit of a blurb about what you do with AAE?
Well, I am the third generation president, CEO, owner. Uh, been born and raised in the industry. Started working here since I was 10 years old, and pretty much grew up with a bow in my hand.
That's awesome. That goes into my next question. So you were around 10 when you started shooting archery?
Actually, I was 4.
4.
Yep. Yep. My grandfather started me with a bow as soon as he felt like I wouldn't shoot anybody. It's kind of how I treat my kids as well.
It's a good gauge, yeah.
Yeah. So started shooting a bow when I was 4. Was blessed to be, out there with the legends on the target side. My grandpa being one of them. Maybe one that's not quite as known in the common circles, but just somebody who was vital in the background and growth of our industry. So growing up 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, shooting archery with Frank Pearson and Terry Ragsdale, and my grandfather Tom Fisher, and the Easton family, Jim and Greg, and and since a young age, and the Gibbs family and the Carters, and
Wow.
archery was a very small world in the late '80s.
Celebrities.
Yeah. I didn't know that at the time, and I don't think they did either. We were that's who was making archery go round at the time.
Yeah. And when did you first get into like target? You do a lot of target and 3D as well as bow hunting?
I do everything. Yeah. At this stage, I am a bow hunter who likes to shoot target archery to be better at bow hunting.
Yeah. I got into that last year. A couple of friends of mine were pretty religious about it, and I always wanted to go to tournaments, but had never. Like I started archery when I was like 7, and then picked it up a little bit when I was in high school on the archery team. We were shooting recurves, and then kind of got away altogether. And a friend of mine called me up one day and said he got back from Bass Pro and picked up a compound, and he's like, "This will change your life. This is nothing like what we used to use." Right? So kind of like he brought it over, and I'm right-handed, but I'm left eye dominant, so I shoot left.
Mhm.
And he brought his right-handed bow over. He's like, "Just try it." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm gonna probably miss the target, right? Like it's not, I can't." So I'll just try it. And I was like launching his brand new aluminum arrows into the cornfield behind my house, and so it just kind of ignited it all for me again, and then I jumped right back into it. So when I got my first set of arrows, they were Easton Axis. They came pre-fletched, right? And I thought, I'll never really get into that. The factory seems to do a good job at fletching the arrows, whatever. And then it wasn't until I started maybe a year into it, and I was kind of filming myself, and I could hear the arrow coming, like it was making a lot of noise. And so, I was listening to John Dudley and all the other folks at the time, and the Max Stealths were the one to get. So I grabbed a set of those, got a Bitzenburger jig, and I've never looked back. So yeah, they've been my staple for forever. I've never tried. I know you guys have a whole bunch of other vanes that are coming out and that are out already, and as well as another bunch of other products, but I've never steered away from the Max Stealths. I can't seem to pull myself away from it, but I think I need to start doing a little bit more experimenting just to see what else is out there.
We have 4 or 5 different lines of vanes, 3 different materials, but it's really hard to go against a Mag Stealth as the greatest all-around vane. From just the 26 profile, which is across every one of our lines of vanes. It's the greatest all-around profile. I mean, you'll have some different ideas and thought processes into it, but when it comes down to a profile that's quiet, will steer anything, is good in the wind, it's just hard to beat, And then in the Max material, urethane-based material, about the most durable vane material there is, You can go the thinner, light, stiff vein material, but it can't take the abuse a max vein can, And it comes with, again, being a urethane-based material, you got to follow the fletching procedure. But if you just follow the instructions that are in 6 different places, somehow people never seem to find those.
Yeah.
Do as instructed. They stick amazingly well, and it's just hard to beat that vein, If still I'm probably the most knowledgeable person in the world in veins, and if I had to choose just one vein, that would be it without a doubt. So
yeah, and they're very simple. You just have to get a Maxwell primer pen, and I use some of the wipes as well, just to clean off the surface and everything, and then the Max Bond glue, and they're bulletproof. Really, I've never had an issue. I haven't had one fall off. I haven't had one rip off. I've had them go through targets. There's been zero issues with that. So, yeah, that's been an awesome venture, and I'm glad I got away from the factory fletched and went down this rabbit hole, because it's a deep one, but it's definitely good.
It can be incredibly deep, the vein world, but when you finally round it all off, we just finally simplified it all down to a spreadsheet that we just yesterday or the day before, I believe, actually put up on our website under all our veins, to kind of just create a basic step chart into what you're trying to achieve. Because I don't like making veins that don't have an intent and a purpose. I don't like making any products that don't have an intent and a purpose. So
right.
Just a basic step chart to get flow chart just on an Excel spreadsheet that lets you make an easier decision on what veins you're looking to shoot, and again, when you're like, man, I just want the vein that will do it all. I can take it into any environment and anywhere. It's just at home, on a field course, a 3D range, and in the middle of Alaska shooting a fixed blade broadhead. It will do it all.
Yeah.
And that's the Max Stealth. And there is no other vein that can check every one of those boxes.
Nice. Made the right choice the first time.
Yeah.
And is the Air Razors new for this year?
Air Razor came out last year.
Last year, okay.
Yeah, we added 2 new veins to the line for this year. The Air Razor 23, which is my go-to for hunting personally. I shoot a 5 fletch with the Air Razor 23. And then also the Air Razor Hunter, which is what originally would be known as the Max Hunter profile,
right?
Or what we just refer to as the Hunter profile. And for that particular profile, the Air Razor material is probably the best material for that profile. The tall veins are, obviously, as you mentioned about hearing an arrow coming to you, short, high-profile veins are loud. It's just their nature.
Right.
So that material is incredibly quiet. The Air Razor 26 is probably the quietest vein ever produced. I would certainly put it against, and love to see data stating otherwise. I've tested everything in the world now. When I'm testing things, it is just straightforward. Everything's the same, 2 degrees right hand with helical and offset, on a Bitzenburger. To me, all the testing we've done, that is the best overall combination you can have. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the Air Razor from a sound standpoint, and the Air Razor 26 is the quietest all around vein. But again, that material doesn't have the durability of the Max material. So,
and then are the pros shorter and thinner than the Hunter?
The Pro is a 60% scaled version of the Hunter.
Okay.
Yeah. So from every standpoint, you just look at it, it's 40% smaller.
Gotcha.
So it's the Hunter being 2.2 and I think 580, 590 tall. That's the Hunter. The Pro is 1.7 long and basically 7/16, 440 tall. But every other feature just scaled ergonomically the same. So.
Mm-hmm. And then the Talon 3.0, it's just is that longer? That's longer and shorter than the 20?
So the Talon 3.0, its design concept is specifically for crossbows, which generally is over a half-inch tall. So that vein is 490 tall. It does still have the same shield cut and attack angle as the Pro and the Max, or the Hunter profile. It's specifically aimed at the crossbow market. However, if I was to shoot nothing but fixed blades, if I was just a hardcore fixed blade bow hunter, that would be my go-to vein in a 3 flesh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the hybrid Phoenix, are there cuts in that?
Yeah, so the hybrid Phoenix actually starts life as a hybrid 40, which is probably the most dominant indoor vein in the world. And then we post process, we laser cut it. And
Wow.
so it basically creates serrations in it, as you would say, but it acts like a feather. So it's super forgiving, makes it very soft, but because it's still out of the hybrid extrusion, you have the step base and the ribs in it, which gives it a lot of stability still. So originally its design intent obviously is to shoot off the shelf on trad bows, as well as it does pretty good off a springy on trad. Recently we had quite a bit of pressure to at least, or I won't say pressure, but inquiry as to whether or not it would be a good indoor archery vein. So I've actually been shooting that this year so far in a 4 fletch on my TAC 27s for indoor, and been pleasantly surprised. They're shooting extremely well. I really like, for me with my grip, I definitely a low wrist, a lot of heel pressure grip, and sometimes this first finger will get a little high. So on bigger diameter shafts with taller veins, every now and then I'll get a little vein brush there if I'm not paying attention and tucking that thing down. And obviously on a stiffer vein, that can occasionally cause a glance off or something, to where maybe we'll miss an X or something of that nature. So I don't have that issue at all with them, and it doesn't hurt like a full one piece vein does.
Yeah.
There are certain people who shoot similar grips in this industry that shoot stiffer, meaner veins that bear fruit to that constantly happening.
Yeah, I think I was watching the Lancaster Classic, and I swear I saw somebody with those one of the recurve or the traditional guys with the hybrid. Because I was watching with one of my friends, he's like, "Does that guy have slits in his veins?" I was like, "Oh, I think they are."
Yeah, no, they've grown in popularity really fast. They perform just like a feather. They tune really easy. Of course, being made out of hybrid veins, they glue way easier than anything. They're instant adhesion. And then, of course, for outdoor, for trad, they're going to deal with water issues.
Right.
They have the ability to get beat up way better. They're much more durable than a feather. When, trad is much about, can I hit the target? So recovering arrows out of the bushes is a common thing, and they can take that abuse much better than a feather can.
Right. So that one doesn't need the primer pen then? Are there other ones that are in that ballpark too?
The trad vein is same material base. It's our elite material base, and that doesn't require the primer pen. The only veins that we produce that require the primer pen are the max line of veins.
Okay.
Yeah. Elites, hybrids, trads, air razor, all those materials work very well with our factory applied activator. So
Gotcha.
You don't need to do any. You don't even want to touch the base of the vein.
Yeah.
On those. So.
And I see you make a knob for the Bitzenburger jig. Can you tell about how that differs from the one that comes with
it? Just purely from tolerances, it fits the jig much better. The indentations are much more accurate. They're much more positive engagement. The knob doesn't walk around at all, where that's like the knob on a stock Bitzenburger is a cast product. It's not a machine product. So there's just a ton of play in it. And
there
then
is, yeah.
That tapered V fork that they use just really doesn't. It's fine for self-centering on an overall scale, but it doesn't coincide well with today's nocks. So our bits knob, being 2-piece, it has the removable knock insert, so you can interchange with different nocks, whether you're running the standard or, we've got the small groove. We've also have 2 different crossbow versions, being the basic crossbow and then the Raven specific one that we just launched. But they're all designed to fit today's nocks. There's an actual snap on there. You actually feel it engage. It self-centers. It just greatly improves the fletching experience. The Bitzenburger is the most popular fletching jig out there and has been for 60 years. And albeit there's been a lot of attempts to make some level of improvement over the top of it. It's still just the tried and true, but that's probably makes the factory knob was a big issue, and this makes a giant improvement upon the fletching experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get one of those because there is definitely a lot of play in that knob that you notice almost right away.
Yeah, and because the insert is removable and it's just held in with a set screw, one of the cool features about it then is you can back that set screw off if you got to replace one vein, and sometimes just trying to get the alignment right to replace one vein can be difficult and annoying. Well, you can back that set screw off that's holding the insert in and, put the arrow in, clamp up on one of the existing veins, and it will self-align. So that then all you got to do, once you clamp up on that, tighten the set screw back down, and then you can automatically go to that vein placement position.
Wow.
Click, and it will automatically align. So it's another really handy feature.
It's amazing. I did also pick up your Mountain Series stabilizer.
Oh,
I've had 3 stabilizers from different companies. Hands down, I'm not saying this because you're here. Hands down, this is the best one I've ever used. It's like the perfect amount of weight. I see that there's some other ones like the Skyline and the Denali. Is the Denali a thicker?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Mountain Series is a 500 half-inch diameter bar, 500 thousandths. So is the Skyline, and the Denali is 700. Of course, the Mountain Series is specifically designed for the hunting market, whereas the Skyline is aimed at the target market as well as like the tack market with some of the longer bars. It is not the same carbon layup in any direction as the Mountain Series. The Mountain Series carbon layup is actually the same as our since retired Advantix bar.
Okay.
So it's, again, not a basic tube. There's a lot of thought process and technology and torsion response in getting the proper response time throughout the shot cycle. So that there's nothing that we do in stabilizers that is just give me a piece of carbon. There's a lot of bars out there that are that way. That what's the cheapest carbon tube? Because a piece of carbon is a piece of carbon, and that is so far from the truth. So the Skyline was a 2+ year project with Paige Pierce on creating the best small diameter bar we could, because she was shooting the Advantix, and obviously it was super soft at 30 inches long, and she runs 20 some odd plus ounces, 20 to 28 ounces, depending on the day up front, which the Advantix was way too soft for that. The Advantix was originally designed to be a recurve bar where we were trying to offset the natural human vibration frequencies. But then, of course, it had its own interesting response rates on a compound. However, we were trying to improve upon what that created. So with probably 10 different layup designs, different carbon concepts. And then recently there was a kind of a breakthrough in carbon material early last year. Well, no, it was the year before. Would have been in 23 because we launched the Skyline in 24. But in early 23, there was a new carbon material that was released, and that made an exponential change. And instantly, as soon as we made that bar, it was like a big jump in response rate. The feel was still the same. The holding pattern was much the same that you could see in the Skyline, where some people want a really, really stiff bar, higher moments of inertia. But almost if you have more movement, a little more shake or whatever, the Skyline does a better job being softer to actually resist that. It actually will move and flex against your movement better through your holding pattern. And then, of course, the softer bar just has a better feel through the shot, as long as there's good vibration dampening to kill post vibration after the shot, which all of our bars have, our proprietary internal vibration dampening combined with the external vibration dampening you can see. But we made leaps and bounds changes with the Skyline there in early 23. And then it was like, well, the old Hot Rods bars had been around for 12 years, the hidden weight system as well. And it was just really time to take a step away from that thought process and technology. The hidden weight system was very expensive to produce as it was. And although the concept was really good, you could never fully get rid of the vibration. We could do certain things where you could look into rubber coating the weights and the end caps and different things, but that just added weight and cost.
Mm-hmm.
And in the archery world, cost is a big limiting factor. Even though bows are $2,000, accessories still have a limitation. And
Mm-hmm.
the top of the stabilizer market is still in that. Nobody really buys anything over $400 in the target world, and so
Right.
with that in mind, it was like, okay, if we get rid of the hidden weight system, we can still go back to standard weighting because it works well. It does this job, combined with our internal vibration dampening. But we're going to free up a ton of cost where we can basically keep the cost of the bar the same, and I can invest into the carbon layup, learning from the technology of the Skyline. And so fortunately, no homework really required. We knew how stiff we wanted the Denali to end up because it can be dramatically stiffer, but that will just hurt you. And there's a point where the moments of inertia are too high. We want it in this proper window where it still resists your movement, and there's some moments of inertia where it's not just rock hard, but still has a great feel through the shot. And that's where the Denali ended up. Fortunately, that didn't require any prototyping. It was pretty much a, run it through the potential layups, and yep, this is our end scale, and it came out dead on the money. And I'll put that bar against any bar on the market.
Yeah, and depending on what size you're looking for, you've got everything from 4 inches out to, is it 33?
Yeah. And you get a few people out there who want a 36, and depending on what I have in stock, we can occasionally make a bar that long. But 36 just isn't real common these days.
That's pretty big.
Frankly, isn't necessary.
Yeah. I always tell people, I have a YouTube channel. I do a bunch of gear reviews and stuff, and I get a lot of questions from people about things. And I usually tell, whenever people have questions about getting into archery and stuff, I always tell them, don't focus on spending all your money on the bow itself. You have to save room for buying good accessories, because if you buy a great bow but you put a crappy sight on it, or you put a crappy stabilizer on it, it's not going to help you one way or the other.
No, you can spend $2,000 on a bow and skimp on arrows, or you can buy a cheap rest that's super inaccurate. You can just trash it in a lot of ways. You got to accommodate the whole spectrum of what it's going to take to have a complete package.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got nocks as well.
Yep. On the nocks side, our IP line of nocks. We've been producing the vast majority of the nocks in the industry since the early 80s, and really for other companies. And due to some business changes amongst some of our OEM manufacturers, it opened a window for us to actually start producing our own line of press fit nocks. Probably in, I think 2017 is when we started the project. It took a year or two to really bring it together, and that blossomed into the IP line of nocks. So you got your 4, 5, and 6. So your 166, 205, 245 nocks, which are all your basics. And then last year we launched our pin nock as well.
Mm-hmm.
And all the same, they all have the same throat design. They all have the same snap features. They're all 200 thousandths thick. So one of the big things now is you can go from a pin nock up to a 245, 246 nock. Never have to move your nock sets. They're all going to fit the same. They're all going to fit your center serving the same. The pin nock is a little bit softer snap feature, being that it's specifically designed for target. The arrows are generally lighter. They don't need to have as stiff as a snap feature, but throat feature and design is all the same. So they all perform the same. They're the most accurate nocks on the market. I'll put them against anything. I've tested them all. So and that's quickly becoming apparent. You already see many companies starting to pick them up, and anybody who tests them quickly sees the difference in the consistency and toughness of the nock.
Yeah, nock fit is definitely a huge thing, and it's something you'll realize very soon when you get into archery, and you flip flop from your standard nock to, like, say, a lighted nock for hunting. There's so many different varieties out there, and some are a lot softer than others, and might not give you the reassurance that it's going to stay on your string than others. And yeah, you really got to make sure that you find the right knock for the situation that you're using it for.
Well, and one of the big industries across that, and I've been on the forefront of battling this for a decade, is center serving tolerances have gotten completely out of hand. The industry standard has always been 108 thousandths to 112. But it was within the ATA standards, it was just a reference number per se.
Okay.
And they actually, I think it went all the way up to 114. But there wasn't a knock on the market that was ever designed to operate on a string that large, which particularly lighted knocks in the 144 size, you would see string damage occur all the time. Or not string damage, knock damage, and eventually massive string wear and stuff. But it's really horrible for accuracy if your knocks are too tight. Me personally, I like a center serving in 108 to 109 thousandths, which is on the smaller side of the spectrum. But I just find in that size, the knocks are on there more than secure enough. I've never, ever had an issue across anything I've ever done, and the knock just comes off cleaner. And I can certainly tell you on the lighted knock world, you're way better off having a center serving between 108 to 110 than on the larger scale, because just that pressure of stretching the knock more on these weak lighted knocks, it really induces a ton of damage and inaccuracy on the knocks. Lighted knocks are already $20 a piece. And
they're not cheap.
In some instances, they're good for one or two shots, and a lot of it had to do with center serving sizes. I won't poke at the bow manufacturers too much, but you basically see that all the major bow manufacturers have made big changes in their factor string manufacturing.
They definitely have, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of this was on that directive. We finally got a change within the ATA Technical Committee this last year to actually make. We had to word it gently, not as forcefully as I would have liked, but it's generally the wording is more upgraded to this is where you need to be on knocks on string sizing. It was always frustrating because you had a lot of companies that go, well, this is what we make them to. Why don't you change the knocks? Well, a knock mold, at least produced by us, which we firmly make the best knock molds in the world, they're $25,000 to $30,000.
Yeah,
all you needed.
No, we're not doing that.
Order center serving material that's 2,000 or 3,000 smaller.
Yeah.
You didn't have to change anything. Just order smaller serving.
Yeah.
Like you want us to replace a $30,000 knock mold. So yeah, that was a problem.
Oh, jeez. Sounds pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah. We finally got everybody on board and to understand it. So,
that's good.
I'll definitely say I feel like the engineering teams, the major engineering teams across the industry now, we're all doing a better job of working together and being on the same page, because we all have to be, on that side of things, to be in communication front to back, and not everything's a secret. Maybe the bow companies are keeping secrets from each other, but at least now I feel like the major players on the accessory side and the bow hunting side, we all can communicate on a level that we don't make decisions that are going to be negatively not just affect us, but also the end consumer in the end. So,
yeah, I always wondered that about, there's been times where, or years where, a few bow companies will come out with a lot of similar products. Like you'll get a long form, like a long draw bow, a short draw bow, and then a couple of other flagships from each one at the same time. And it's like, is there a mole, or are they talking, or what's going on there?
On that aspect, squeaky wheel gets greased.
Yeah.
So the short draw people and the long draw people are always the ones who are complaining, even though they're like 10% of the industry.
Yeah.
Those are the ones saying, make a product that fits me. So, everybody's flagship bow this day and age is a good product.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with anything that's on the market now.
No. So beyond that, those specialty bows are the items that people they're going to pay a little more attention to. Can we get performance out of those? Can we even offer a product that fits to these people? There was one of the major manufacturers who really didn't have a long draw product, and now they do. And I get why they didn't, because, okay, we're going to cut out 5% in the industry, but it's an opportunity to provide growth and and learn more. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no, there was never a mole. It was just
No, I know. I'm just saying.
the same people were complaining to everybody.
To
Somebody
everybody,
provided
yeah.
a product that will fulfill my needs.
Right.
But
Yeah.
and
You've got
I'm seeing more of a growth, especially on the short draw side. I feel like the next generation of people have narrow shoulders and short arms. They're all 27 inches of draw.
yeah, it's great that they're I know the shops must hate it with the modules and having to stock all the modules, but that really gives everybody the top peak performance of the cam at their
Oh,
draw length, which is a nice thing to see.
yeah. I mean, what Matthews has done with their module system and being able to change draw weights, and I've been in this industry my whole life, and I'm sure if I sat down and started scribbling some numbers, I could figure out how they got to that. But being able to take a bow from 65 pounds to 80 pounds with a swap of mods, wow, that's
Yeah.
impressive. I don't know what they did.
No, I don't know how they do it year after year. So what are you shooting this? What bows are you shooting? Are you
Well,
switching?
I honestly kind of have a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So my go-tos are PSEs. Been a
Okay.
PSE guy for a long time. I target bows a Mach 34, and I shoot one of the original Omen, the newest generation Omens.
Okay.
Uh, uh, those are my two babies. But again, I don't have to shoot specifically for anybody, and I spent much of this last year hunting with a Lift 33. Was very
Okay.
pleased with the bow. It was a good bow. Performance was right there in the midst with everybody else on their flagship lines. Aimed well, shot well. I personally had never had an issue with the bow. And still very much enjoy shooting it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to play with Hoyts again, which I've been in and out of the Hoyt realm for many years, but generally back and forth between PSE. But in recent years with the ECS cam system, that cam profile just really suited me.
Mm-hmm.
Their cam profile and their grip structure really fit my style of shooting really, really well. So, but kind of everybody is kind of merging, becoming very similar again. So,
Yeah, my first one was Hoyt Helix Ultra in 2019, and then I jumped to the Prime Nexus 4 for a couple of years, and then last year I was shooting the Elite Ethos. And when I was at the Pennsylvania TAC, I live in Ontario in Canada, but I went down to Pennsylvania for TAC, and I walked into the Hoyt booth, and I tried both the Alpha X and the Carbon, and I couldn't tell the difference. If I was blindfolded, they were incredible, and the changes that they'd made. I mean, obviously from the 2019 that I had, they're going to be drastic, but they blew my mind. They were just incredible. Like the small complaints that I had about the one that I shot, which weren't drastic, they completely had wiped clean with these new ones, and they're just making, that fiddling with the cam and making it better and better each year. Just want to take a quick break to talk to you about a couple of things that I've been using that I think might benefit you. One is this Numa Outdoors gear. This is in their Kaza OV pattern, which is great whitetail pattern when you're up in a tree in the fall and late season. They also have a Kaza pattern which has more green in it, which is good for spring through to the fall. Numa has given me a code to give to you of Caribou Media 20, which will save you 20% at checkout. Another product here that I've been using for years now is the Bulldog targets. This is a Canadian made target. They're made in Manitoba. They have a lifetime warranty. I've used that warranty twice now on a couple of my larger targets that are outside. It's very simple, very easy. These targets are 2-finger removal every single time, which is incredible. Field point only target. Bulldog's been gracious enough to give me a 20% discount code to give to you at checkout. Use code BD20-Caribou-Media. That'll save you 20% on these awesome targets. Now back to the show.
yeah, and PSE also finally came on board with a wider limb platform.
Yes.
They had the standard 3/4 inch wide limb up until 2 or 3 years ago, which everybody else had already moved up to the 900 thousandths wide limb, which just stores so much more energy and allows you to make a milder cam. it's still, I almost find it comical now because with some of the bows that have the hot cam, the speed cam, then you have guys going, oh, that cam's just so unpleasant to shoot. And I'm like, where were you 10 years ago?
Yeah, right.
That cam's a breeze to shoot. Like,
Yeah.
you guys don't know what a hot cam felt like, and and that's where, again, the last 2-3 years, at least, I'm not familiar with the prime bows or the elite bows, but across certainly PSE, Matthews, and Hoyt, right now they're all building just spectacular bows, across the board. Low vibration, they're quiet, the performance is great, the reliability is there. There's been some hiccups along the way, but for a couple instances, but those bows have been remedied. The issues have been remedied. The manufacturers handled it appropriately, so it's really hard to say you could go wrong with any one of them. I would basically trust any of them. I'm excited to see Hoyt make the jump in performance. The one thing you've always been able to say about Hoyt was, if I was stranded on a desert island and could only pick one bow, what would you take? And even being a PSE guy and enjoying shooting at Matthews, I'd always tell you Hoyt because I knew I could drive over it and just
use it as a paddle.
Yeah, whatever, and it was cheap, right? That's what above all, that's what Hoyt was known for was its durability. And these newest steps, they haven't let that requirement go.
Mm-hmm.
So the technology got to where they accepted it to make those next steps. So that's exciting. So I'm really interested in spending more time with Hoyts this year and seeing what that looks like as well. So
yeah, it's like there was a 1500 dry fire tests that they do,
yeah.
and I've had people say, "No, it's no way. There's no way they do that." I'm like, watch some of their promo videos. You can see the machine.
I go visit them a couple times a year and stand here and watch their dry fire machine over and over again. If you're ever in the Utah area up in Salt Lake, I mean, their tour is really cool. Their facility is specifically has catwalks and stuff, so you can go get a tour of the company and not be in the way of manufacturing and everything. And
that's very cool.
Really cool things. So if you're gonna ever be in the area, reach out. And I'm sure they'll oblige and give tours. Evan Williams up there just loves to do those.
Yeah, I actually shot next to him on the practice range at TAC, and we got talking there. So, yeah, that would definitely be awesome. I see you've got some rests too. Do you want to go through those a little bit?
Sure. So,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, basically, I mean, you've got your 3 different styles of rest, from a standard style lockup fall away or standard fall away, however you want to look at it. But a prophecy, that's what I would say is our flagship rest. That's my baby. I designed it originally. The internal design started off as the DOA all the way back in 2009, and it's gone through now 11 different revisions over the years. I finally figured out how to make some changes on it to fit it into the Pro Series frame, and that's when it was reborn as the Prophecy. And that is, I'll put it against any fall away on the market. I think it's as accurate as any blade rest. I shoot it for indoor, outdoor, 3D, everything. We have cycle machines that we test all our competitors' rests, and I won't say specific names, but nobody's ever gone over 55,000 shots without a failure. Most of the time, they average around 35,000 to 40,000, and we see over 400,000.
Wow!
One Prophecy rest will generally outlast the Archer.
Yeah, no kidding.
So it's a phenomenal product, incredibly accurate, built on the proven Pro Series frame, micro adjust vertical and horizontal, and it's an amazing rest. Anybody, once you use it, nobody goes back. So
I got a great lizard tongue capture for the arrow too.
Yeah, it's full capture. Probably the only thing you'll ever say about it is it doesn't go down if you let it. You have to put it down, or no. And the biggest issue is it won't come up. You have to cock it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which that's the whole point of a full capture arrow rest, anyways, is to cock.
That's right.
So it's not really ever an issue. Every once in a while, you hear somebody forgot to cock it, and it happens, I guess, but. The whole purpose of that rest is to be locked into position in the opposition for full capture. So, Then we have the Pro Drop. which is a limb-driven rest. It's been around since 2008. I won't say the original limb-driven rest. That was originally Limb Driver, which Vapor Trail now owns, I believe. But it was the first one on a micro adjust platform, and the first rest that had dual bearings and centerless ground axles and some of the features that we are known for. Still, limb-driven rest is a limb-driven rest. There's not much in it. They're meant to have very few moving components and to be accurate and timeable, and it's all that and more. It's been, we'll just say many of our competitors have used it as their platform to design their product off of. It is funny because although it's not our most popular product, many people think it's new, and it's like, no, it's coming up on 20 years old.
Wow.
And then, you get over, we have our non-micro adjust lines of rest with the Prophet, which is a non-micro adjust prophecy, as well as the driven LD, which is a non-micro adjust limb-driven rest, and the driven CD, which is just a standard non-micro adjust cable-driven rest. Those are all, you take the micro adjust out of a product and you significantly drop the purchasing price. So they're all very accurate, high-quality rests. They're Pro Series frames without micro adjust, so the dovetails, the strength, and everything is still there. They're great products if you're not interested in spending the upper echelon of cost on a micro adjust rest. And then, you get onto the target side, and probably the winningest rest in archery over the last 15 years, the Freak Show, and our Pro Blade, again, Pro Series framed rests, and our proprietary alignment hex, so that you can change blades out on the rest without ever losing your tune.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and now the Freak Show, the Prophecy, and the Pro Drop all have a quick detach version, which they're gaining in popularity. But the ability to take your rest off during your storage, have multiple arrow setups, and now the QD wedge and the quick detach limb attachment for the Pro Drop, they're all patented items, so that you can, and those allow you to easily take the cables off on the Prophet, or the activation cable off the Prophecy, as well as the Pro Drop. So you can actually run, you say you wanted to shoot a blade indoor, you're a one bow guy and you're going to shoot a blade indoor, a Pro Drop for 3D, and a Prophecy for hunting. You can have that all on one blade. The attachments are all there. You can swap back and forth between them, and saying your bow, as far as strings of cables stay in tune, they'll never move their point of impact.
Wow.
So that's really cool features there. And again, the biggest one is most of your damage on a rest happens during travel. So be able to take your rest off, keep it safe, put it back on, and know you're not going to lose your point of impact in your tune.
Is that only you guys offering that? I don't think I've seen that with anybody else.
Spot Hog has a version. It's
okay.
It's a funny story. The guys over at Spot Hog are good friends, and unfortunately, they violated one of our patents. It was on the recurve side, and the moment they launched the product, I reached out to Cabe right away, and hey buddy,
hey buddy.
So we let him move forward with it. We just have an agreement.
Okay.
But it was an exact copy.
Which I won't say that
he intentionally copied it, because it's just common
right.
within that concept. And I'm kind of thankful for it in the end. The irony of the entire situation, when that product launched, I had a Pro Drop or a Pro Blade on my screen drawn up with those features to my Free Flight Elite quick detach system that was patented in like 1986. It was physically on my screen. I was finalizing it, and I was there with my consultant, and he goes, "You're not going to believe this," and pulls it up, and we literally
time out.
They hit go on their social media launch, and they got a phone call from us 2 minutes later, and it was like, but so yeah, they still, I think it's the swap is what they call it, but I'm personally thankful for it because it pushed me in a different direction.
Oh, there
Even
you
though I
go.
could have said, "Well, this is our design," they're violating it. Whether
Mhm.
I gave them a cease and desist or just went with my direction that I was on, anyways, it pushed me in a different direction and a different mindset. Um, that actually came out with an even better product with our quick detach system now, where the other system is just on 2 dowel pins. This system now has 13 points of contact. Uh,
Wow.
it's quite a bit more expensive to produce, but the end result is way higher quality, and it also makes torque tuning way better. It was one of the weaknesses in the original Freak Show that was created. That mount, the original Freak Show, was designed for torque tuning. But as you would move just the way all the attachment system and the pressure set screws were designed, as you move the rest in and out for torque tuning, it was difficult to maintain its vertical position.
Mm.
Now this, because the quick detach mounting block mounts hard to the bow, if you want to move the rest, every mount has 6 up to 13 positions it can potentially be in. Now that vertical position stays the same.
Wow.
So that's one of the big advantages of it. It's its torque tuning ability.
That's awesome. You had a couple of hunts this year that were pretty memorable. Did you want to talk about those?
Sure. Yeah, I myself personally, I only had one hunt. I'm blessed to have been a sponsor and now just friends with Greg Ritz, good friends and business associates with Greg Ritz, Hunt Masters TV show. In the last couple of years now, I've gotten to go out and hunt on his incredible farm in Illinois. It's well known across the industry. I missed my first whitetail ever, was a 190 plus inch giant that I missed.
Hmm.
So I
We
almost
won't
feel
talk
like,
about that.
honestly, outside of taking off a lack of understanding whitetail body language, I don't regret anything there. I
Yeah.
shot him for a couple of yards long. He was probably 30. I think I shot him for 35, but I would have hit 2 inches higher from where I was aiming. He just ducked 16 inches.
Wow.
Yeah. I executed well. It was a good shot. He stopped on his own. He was coming into a decoy, so I didn't even have to stop him myself. But he saw the decoy, and they load up instantly, like, oh my gosh, what's that? And I didn't even see it. It all happens fast, but you watch it back in slow motion, and he's already kind of rocking backwards, like when he sees the decoy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was a disappointment. And then and the one that year I was disappointed about is I had a chip shot, 38-yard shot. I put the wrong pin on it. Learned a lot about myself in those, though. Again, as I say, I'm a bow hunter who shoots target archer to be better. But one of the things I've learned real quick is maybe I'm a target archer who bow hunts because I cannot shoot an up pin bow hunting, particularly an up pin that has multiple fibers in it.
Mm-hmm.
My brain, I'm cool, calm, and collected, but my eye goes into the peep. And then it better just be purely natural because there's not a whole lot of thought going on there.
That's right. What just happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
Happens.
Well, the second one, I was just shooting an up pin with the second fiber below it, and that second fiber was coincidentally 38 yards, and the top, the centered fiber on my up pin was 20, and this deer came out at 38 yards. Nice 100 and probably low 160s, old 7-year-old deer, and I put that 20-yard fiber on him because that up pin, my brain just went straight to target archery and went, well, that one's in the middle.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, he didn't duck. If he ducks like the other deer did, he's dead.
He didn't read the script.
He Houdini'd his leg out of the way, just like, if you haven't looked at, saw it, I mean, I almost think Greg's poking fun at me because it's been on Outdoor Channel 4 times this year. But yeah, that deer, if he ducks like the other deer, he's dead. The other deer ducked 16 inches. This guy didn't duck at all. He just picks his leg up out of the way.
No.
Pretty wild. But yeah, I got to go back there again this year, and more trials and tribulations, but did manage to wrap my tag around a very nice 10 points. So
Nice.
very pleased about that. And then, yeah, for me, as far as hunting success goes, early a year ago, I did have some great success on Coos deer in Mexico, but a good portion of my hunting this year was with my daughter, which I
Oh, that's awesome.
I love to hunt, but taking my kids and really anybody's kids and family hunting is what I cherish the most. So
Mm-hmm.
my daughter drew some great tags this year. We had, gosh, almost 20 days in the field together, which, 16 years old, and she's a superstar, already graduated high school and in college, a couple years of college down. So I don't know. I don't think she'll ever quit hunting, but life gets in the way. So to have that opportunity just to spend 20 days in the field with her was awesome. We were only able to fill one out of her 3 tags, but we had a lot of great experiences, a lot of great memories, and really enjoyed it. So
That's awesome. Yeah, my son's 18. I have a daughter that's 15, and I took him out to BC with me when he was 16 on an elk hunt, and he was coming for the experience to be a packer and to hold my camera. So it was an awesome experience. We didn't end up. We had a couple of encounters, but we didn't end up getting a shot on one. But it was, again, like you said, it's something that we're both gonna remember forever. It's making those memories. Like my wife and I would rather buy our kids experiences than stuff, because that's the stuff, things that they're gonna remember when we're not here anymore. So
it's making those core memories. I'm my 6-year-old. I have a 6 and 16-year-old, and my 6-year-old, she's finally. I think at that stage where I don't think she's going to shoot anybody, so I can start training her.
Yeah, that's good.
I still wonder that, and then she shoots me in the eye with a Nerf dart every day.
Maybe we'll wait a little bit.
Yeah, but no, my oldest Morgan, I started taking her around when she was 4, and she started hunting when she was 10, and she's already successfully harvested more animals than a lot of grown men, and all in Arizona. Just tags she's drawn as a junior. Arizona normally provides great opportunities to juniors here. Suddenly, it's become much harder to get a tag in the last few years, even as a junior. But this year she did draw a rifle bull hunt in Utah. That we were both really excited for, and we put a lot of work into in time. But I don't think Utah has elk. I know people say they do, and I'm really good at finding elk. But no, it's just a lot tougher. I wish I would have known more about that tag and what it actually entailed as far as where and how you could hunt. I would have gone into it in a different manner than I did. I did hire an outfitter, and because I didn't have time to scout it the way I would have liked to.
Right.
But I hired the wrong type of outfitter, and definitely should have hired a pure public land outfitter. They have a lot of different types of property in Utah, and the outfitter I hired didn't know public land very well.
So, that's too bad.
Yeah. But we had a blast. We did get into some elk, but they were on land we couldn't hunt, and I tried like heck for 2 days to pull them over to where we could shoot them, and that didn't work out. Our most exciting moment was our second to last night sitting over a waller, and had a big 45-inch Shiraz moose come in, making all sorts of noise, and I kind of knew it was a moose coming in, but I was praying it was just an angry elk. But
yeah.
Still, it was the first moose she's ever seen, so that was really cool. And still, just a wonderful experience, great memories, neither one of us forget. So.
Yeah. When you shot your whitetail, what broadhead were you using?
Evolution Outdoors hide.
The hide, yeah. That's a hugely popular one for sure.
Yeah, Evolution Outdoors their brand's growing really fast. Dale Perry and I have been good friends since 2012. I think Dale originally created the Gravedigger, and he brought the manufacturing to the United States in 2012. We started producing the ferrules here, and then he sold that business to Plano, and then we relaunched Evolution Outdoors, made some improvements and design changes to get away from the patents that Gravedigger and Plano still had, which were good improvements on Evolution Outdoors, on the Evolution Outdoors products, the Jekyll and the hide. But yeah, and that I will shoot that, bro. I will shoot the hide at any animal in North America, and probably just about any animal in Africa. I don't know. I think I'd still want to shoot a buffalo, a Cape buffalo or something with it.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people would say you're crazy for it, but I shot an Asiatic water buffalo at 80 yards with one. and it lived 6 seconds.
Oh,
It didn't
jeez.
even take a step. Arrow buried into the offside. I won't say late shoulder because they don't really have shoulders. They just have giant bones.
They're just, yeah,
And
just
the
mass.
arrow, yeah, went all buried into the offside leg bone, went all the way into the knock, cut the top of the heart off both lungs at 80 yards. And thing stood there for 6 seconds, looked around, went, "What is wrong with me?" and died.
What more could you ask for, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people say when you go hunt those big dangerous game, you got to shoot a fixed head, but I haven't broke a blade yet. I haven't hardly bent one. That broadhead buried all the way into halfway up the shank into that offset leg bone. It took, after we skinned it out, obviously just unscrewed the head from the broadhead that wasn't a glue in, and then I had to go in there with a pair of channel locks to get it out of the bone. But
Wow.
and we did some destruction testing at the Utah TAC this year, shooting broadheads into the steel plate, the Kifaru steel plate up there, and all 3 versions of the hide stuck in the plate.
Wow. Yeah, you get that.
Everything else bounced off. Many
Right.
of the broadheads failed it completely. Some that were a chisel tip design just didn't penetrate. Were still usable and proved that they could take the abuse. But all 3 versions of the Evolution had all stuck into the 1/4-inch blade.
Yeah, you get that nice fixed blade plus the you get best of both, really. It's like an insurance policy, right?
It is.
Yeah.
For some crazy reason, and you'll have people say with that broadhead, "Oh, the blades didn't open." Well, that's because they pulled the blades out of the animal and the blades closed. There's nothing holding them open except forward friction,
Right.
Or they'll find them in the ground and the blades, for whatever reason, closed. And hide opens more internally. It'll penetrate and then open on the inside of the hide of the animal. So you may not have a giant entrance hole. Now, the Whitetail Fury, which is just the hide's large bladed brother, it will open on the surface. And,
okay.
I think for anything deer game and smaller, that is the head. Black bear, probably one of us is going to need to shoot an elk with it, just getting a little thicker boned animals. But still, the blades aren't designed, they're designed to bend, not break. So they're always cutting, even if they bend. And I mean, I know Dale personally, he'll only shoot the Whitetail Fury, but he did shoot his elk last year with a hide. But either head, the Whitetail Fury just does wild destruction. I think it's supposed to be 2 3/8 cut. I think it's more like 2 1/2, maybe even bigger, and it makes 3-inch entry holes. But it still flies. It's basically a 3/4 by 3/4 inch fixed in the closed position. So with a reasonable 3 max stealths, the 5 PM or Air Razor 23s, max 23s that I shoot, it steers those great out past 100 yards. But it will make a mess of anything.
Yeah, I did a couple of broadhead videos, mechanical and fixed blade, and that was one that was on my list. I didn't get in time, so I'm going to be doing another one. I'll have to make sure I get that to put it through the paces, because I was always a fixed blade guy, and then I started using mechanicals this year and shooting them into ballistics gel, and just seeing how gone are the days of they don't open, right? Like that's we're well past that, right?
We're well past that now. Yeah, now it's do they, and there's heads that fly. And there's more of the issue now is heads that will penetrate and not cause bounce offs. And some of that is into arrow design and component design too, which is, why we have our glue-in system for Evolution. Putting a collar that supports the arrow. And I started bringing that to the forefront onto all the arrow builders, about arrow manufacturers 4 years ago. And it's pretty much accepted technology now. Even Easton now has their 2.0 outserts that everybody's supporting the outside of the arrow now, because that was one of the biggest things we found right away. Just shooting brick walls under high-speed video, you'd watch if there was no support on the end of the arrow, all the energy would just explode out the side of the arrow, and you just watch the arrow crumple up like a mushroom and then implode outwards. And as soon as you supported the end of the arrow, even 3/8 to a 1/2 inch, you'd go through the block. So then it came down to, okay, now do we have a broadhead that can take that energy transfer? Come on, camera.
There we go.
Yeah.
So do you go to a few of the TAC events yourself, or?
Yeah, I went to 4 last year. I'll probably be at 4 or 5 this year. I still get on the road quite a bit. I'm still the face of our company, but I also have a business to run.
Yep.
So, and kids and everything. So I'm having to peel back a little bit and put more people out there.
Yeah. It's a balance.
Yeah, it's a balance. So, but I definitely myself this year, I will be at Oklahoma, first TAC event, and then Pennsylvania, South Dakota, and Utah will be the 4 I'll definitely be at myself.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, come see you at Pennsylvania.
Definitely. Definitely. It's probably the best one now. I mean, it's, it's 4 days for a reason. 4,000 people there. And, it's a blast. Love the TACs. Love the culture they've created. The joy people have in shooting a bow.
Yeah.
Having spent 20 years on the road attending target archery events, and there's only 1 or 2 happy people there, and everybody else is kind of sad.
Yeah. And they give everybody a scorecard at TAC, but I've never seen anybody fill one out.
Right? The only people I see that fill them out have side bets going with their buddies.
Or that. Yeah.
I don't even take one.
No.
I can keep score, and I'm better than, because none of the top tier pros in the ASA or the IBO are there. So I'm one of the best guys on the mountain, and I ain't worried about my scores.
That's right.
Yeah,
I went with 3 friends last year. We went down to Pennsylvania, and we got there on the Thursday in the afternoon, and we were just walking around the vendor village, and I'm like, guys, we haven't even shot the course yet. We're coming back here every year. Like, there's so much stuff there that you can literally get your hands on and look at that we can't get up here, right? So it was amazing. And then we go, we shot for a couple of days and going on the knock-on course, and you're taking a bus, and now you're on a landing strip on a mountain. I'm like, guys, we're like, where are we? And it's like we get to the first pylon. We're like, where's the target? Oh, it's 93 yards all the way over there. All right, game on. Let's go.
Yeah. It's not a 25-yard javelina.
No.
No. And they have some of the courses that are a little shorter, but no, the Pennsylvania event's awesome. I really like the South Dakota event, honestly, too. And then Utah, it's back this year. It'll be a Brighton Solitude again. And the one course that goes up to the top of the mountain and comes down is visually one of the most stunning archery courses in the world.
Yeah.
You're up on that ridge, literally the top of the ridge. You can see all the way across Midway, Heber City, Park City, one direction, and all the way to Salt Lake River Valley the other way. It is incredible.
Wow.
And that one, because it starts at the top of the mountain, it's not even, you're way up there. You start at 10-6, but it's just an easy stroll back down the mountain. And it's not a hard hike at all, whereas some of the other ones are up and down and they'll wind you. That one is just laid out from top down, and it is just one of the most visually stunning things you'll ever see.
Wow.
And you get to shoot your bow doing it. So that one, I love that course.
Doesn't get much better than that.
It doesn't. And people are having fun doing archery, which is what I love about it more than anything.
Absolutely.
They go out and lose all 12 arrows on the practice range and come get more.
Yeah, the arrow companies must be loving it.
Us accessory companies and arrow companies are not upset about it. I'm not going to lie.
That's right. That's awesome.
The number one consumable at attack are vanes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Well, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it. Can you let everybody know where they can find your products?
Yep. Instagram, it's AAE Archery. Website's www.arizonaarchery.com. And those are the 2 main points.
Awesome. Thank you very much. You're welcome back on here anytime. You got new stuff coming out you want to get the word out about. I'm glad to help. I have no reason to change. Well, I might venture into some of the other ones, but from now on, like these are my go-to. I don't see myself shooting anything else. So thanks again, and have yourself a good night.
I appreciate the time, Josh. Take care.